It's been a long time since I came on live on any of our social media platforms, so I am excited. I'm excited to be in your faces again today. My name is Chinekwu Ore, your partner in Proactive Parenting. Please, before we proceed, I'd want to request that you share this live stream or invite people to join the group. If you are watching us on Facebook, on our Facebook group, can you invite one or two people to join in on this live stream by joining our group? Because I feel that what we are talking about today is something that will be beneficial to everybody, whether you're a parent or a prospective parent or you have any relationship with children. So welcome to this live session. Kindly let me know if you can hear me clearly. Kindly let me know if you can hear me clearly. So I had announced at the beginning of the month of July that we're going to be looking at how to understand our children better, how to know our children better. Most schools are about to round up for the session. Some have already rounded up, and we'll have our children at home with us for some time. And I feel that it's important to build a relationship with them while they are at home, because we always say in parenting that having a good relationship with your children, bonding with your children, connecting with your children is a foundation for influence, is a foundation of discipline, is a foundation for bringing them up in the way that they should go. So if you don't have a relationship with your children, you need to start working on it. If you have a relationship with your children, there is always a place called forward, and there is always more that you can do. You can always improve on that relationship, and that's why we feel that this session is very, very, very important, because for you to build a cultivate relationship with your children, you have to understand who your child is. You have to understand his likes, his dislikes, the way he is configured, the way he is wired, so you know how to relate with him or her on their level. So if you're on our Facebook group, if you look at the description of this video, you would have seen that I shared a link there. We are going to be sharing some resources that will help parents in this journey of understanding their children better. There are some standardized tests that when you take concerning your children, you're better able to understand their temperament, their love languages, their intelligences. Their intelligence talks about what their strengths are. And it's not about just subject, math, English, and things like that. Whether they are body smart, whether they are word smart, whether they are people smart. Different children, some people are better with interpersonal relationships, others are better with singing, some are better in art and things like that. So we have these different assessments, that can help you understand your children better. So if you want to have access to these resources to help you to understand who your child is better, just fill in your details in that contact information form that the link is on the description of this video, and we'll get back to you to share the resources with you. So today we're going to be looking at understanding your child's love language. Understanding your child's love language. This is the first in the series, and why I decided to start with this topic is because love is very foundational in relationships. Love is foundational in relationships. If you can put it up on the comment section, understanding your child's love language, you can also say love is foundational in all of life's relationships. So you need to have that at the back of your mind. If you're not able to communicate love with your children, a lot of things will be affected. Now, every child, we know that every parent, every reasonable parent loves his child or loves her child. But the question is, does your child know how much you love him? Does your child know how much you love her? Your children need to know that you love them. it validates them, it affirms them, it gives them a high level of confidence, it helps them to trust you, it helps them to open up to you, and when it helps them to build a connection with you. If they know, if they are confident in the love of their parents, it's like wind beneath their wings. And when that knowledge is there, you can easily influence them, because more often than not, they know that whatever you're telling them, for example, if you're correcting them, if you're counseling them, comes from a place of love. They'll understand that whatever you tell them at any point in time comes from a place of love, and because of that, they are more liable to cooperate with you. So I don't know what level your love relationship with your child is. I know you love your child, but the question is, does your child know how much you love that child? Does your child really know how much you love him or how much you love her? So that is why you need to understand your child's love language, because a language is a platform for communication. If you're speaking English to an Italian, for example, who doesn't understand English, whatever it is that you're saying would not make sense to such a person. So it's important that you communicate on the same level, so everybody is on the same level of understanding. Now, when it comes to love, you need to communicate love with your child in a way that your child will understand. Now, people, whether children, adults, have different love languages, but I want to say one thing: regardless of your child's love language, there is one universal way through which you must show love to your children, and that is by verbally expressing it to them, telling them that you love them. It doesn't matter if you're the father or the mother. Telling your children that you love them does not reduce you. It doesn't make you appear weak. It doesn't make them look down on you. It wouldn't make them to take you for granted. I tell you. And there are two ends of this. On one hand, when you tell your children that you love them, as you are speaking it, it's becoming your reality, because our world is crafted by our words, whether we believe it or not. That is the truth. In fact, science has also said that the words that we project have atoms and all that creates that reality. So the more you tell them that you love them, the more the love you have for them actually grows. That's on one hand. And then on the other hand, it gives your children a huge sense of assurance, a huge sense of confidence. Boldness comes with it. It helps with their self-esteem. So regardless of your child's love language, never compromise telling them as often as possible that you love them. Always tell them that. If you can, please tell them, not just once in a day, but many times in a day. They need to hear it. And that is more importantly, tell your children, whether they are male, whether they are female, whether they are young, whether they are old, tell them that you love them. Tell them that you love them. That verbal affirmation means a whole lot to them. So now, that is the first thing. Beyond telling your children that you love them, I also wanted to say that there are different love languages. That means that there's a way a child understands love when it's communicated to the child. Now, I'm sure most of us must have heard this before. There are 5 love languages. There is a word of affirmation, there is physical touch, there is giving of gifts, there is quality time, and there is acts of service. People understand love in different ways. That's just what love languages are trying to say. For some people, they know you love them when you do things for them, when you help them. In the context of our children, beyond the statutory responsibilities towards them, because every parent has statutory responsibilities towards their children. Please, if you're here, kindly help me type out the love languages you got on the comment section, so people that are watching later can also see it. Let me just mention them again: the words of affirmation, physical touch, acts of service, giving of gifts, and quality time. So for some people, they know that you love them if you do things for them, if you help them out. So I said that we have our statutory responsibilities as parents, but just imagine where you're helping your child to do something that's statutorily you mustn't do for the child, particularly for children that are a bit older. Let's say your child is writing the examinations and the child is overwhelmed trying to catch up on a lot of things he or she has to do, and then he's supposed to iron his uniforms, and then he comes upstairs and sees that the uniforms have been ironed by you. That's an act of service. There are people that are so drawn to acts of service. So anybody that serves them, anybody that helps them out, is communicating love to them, and they wouldn't take such people for granted. So that is a love language. Helping people out, helping your children out, going beyond your statutory responsibilities to help them, serve them in one way or the other. It might be breakfast in bed on rare occasions or something, but what's that extra that you were doing? For some children, that is how they'll understand love. This applies to children, this applies to teens, it even applies to adults as well. So as I'm talking, try to evaluate your child. What do you think that his love language or her love language is? So that's for acts of service. For some people, it could be the words of affirmation. Now, I've already said that regardless of what your child's love language is, you must always tell them as often as possible that you love them. But beyond telling your child that you love them, there are some people that would see love or understand love to mean affirming them, affirming their strong points, their strengths. For those kind of people, when you talk down on them, when you highlight their weaknesses against their strengths, it makes them feel smaller in themselves. So that is the thing about a child's love language. When that love language he or she craves is missing, they see it as a gap and they perceive it as not being loved. So if your child's love language, for example, is acts of service, and you never help the child with anything, no matter what, the child will perceive it to mean that you don't love her. No matter how much you tell her that you love her, if you are not helping her in the way that she feels that she needs help from time to time, it might communicate something wrong to the child. So if a child's love language is words of affirmation, that means that the words that people speak to them mean so much to them. There's some people that you talk to anyhow and they don't even mind. But there's some people that the slightest commendation can make them go the extra mile because they value the affirmation. If you put those kind of children down, they will so lose faith in themselves, because children look up a lot to their parents. So if you make them for any reason to doubt, your love for them by putting them down, it would really hurt them. So assess your child. No matter what, you shouldn't even put your children down. But there are some people that you might have to celebrate more. Try to de-emphasize their weaknesses when you're speaking to them and try to celebrate their strengths. That is words of affirmation. Oh, I love the way you always do this in this way. I love that you always look out for this person and that person. Always affirm them. Those positive traits that they have, affirm them. And then, for the people that enjoy quality time, they are the people that no matter what you do, if you don't spend quality time with them, they will not feel loved. And you see what I said, quality time. I'm not talking about just spending time. We are talking about spending quality time. So it's not sometimes in the duration. You can be there are some people that are stay-at-home moms and they are at home with their children every single day, but they are not connecting with those children. They are at home with their children, but they're not spending quality time with them. Some of us are, they normally say you're bodily present but absent-minded. Some of us are physically present but emotionally disconnected. And when that is the case, the child feels that he or she is not loved. and they might start acting out in one way or the other, trying to get your attention. Such children might now become more how will I put it, they might get into more trouble. They'll just start doing things they're not supposed to do, because that might be the only way they can get you to focus on them. So when you don't spend time with them, they feel that they are unloved. They desire your attention. So they will do things that will capture your attention. They might go to school and start misbehaving. They might misbehave at home. They might just, they might just be all over you, even when you need your alone time. But if you make sure that you spend quality time with them on a regular basis, that deficiency will not be there. They understand it as love, and it fills that void in their lives. So that is the third type of the third love language we're looking at today. So I've talked about the acts of service, I've talked about the words of affirmation, and I've talked about quality time. Then for the other people, we have the people that understand love as physical touch. When you hug them, when you pat their backs, when there is that physical touch on a regular basis, they see it as love. For those people, when they do something right and you want to commend them, beyond the words that you speak, make contact with them. You could touch their hands, you could hug them, but make sure that there is contact with your children, such children, on a regular basis. Sometimes teenagers will act like they don't want that attention. We understand that. Some of them will not want that public display of affection. You will respect that. But behind closed doors, for the people that crave it, you do it. You give them as many hugs, as many pats. Just try to maintain contact with them as often as possible. And if you look amongst your children, you'll be seeing children with different traits. I have a child that even from when he was in primary school, maybe I think when he was in year 3 or so, he wouldn't want me to hug him when I drop him off at school, because he doesn't want any child to see him as mommy's boy. But I have children that are, even now that they're in secondary school, they don't mind it if I hug them in front of the whole world. They don't mind. So what is your child's love language? What are the yearnings that come from within them? And then finally, the fifth love language for today is the giving of gifts. Yes, some children understand love when you give them gifts. It doesn't have to be something big. It could just be leftover meat from your food, but let them just know that you're thinking of them when you give them gifts as often as possible. There's some children that don't really mind. You don't give them anything, but once they know that they will always have you around doing stuff with them, they are fine. I have a child that when it's her birthday, all she wants is the celebration, the fanfare, being the center of attention, as it were. If you celebrate her, affirm her, spend time with her, and you don't even buy her a gift, she doesn't mind. But there's another that wouldn't care about cakes or any of those things, but wants those gifts, wants the gifts. It's not about being materialistic now, but this is how they understand love. So these are the 5 love languages. And I want to say something. Even though we are talking about your child's love language, a child or an individual might have a little of each of these love languages being expressed. As much as possible, express love to your children across these different languages, but there's that particular language that strikes a chord in them. Make sure that you emphasize on that love language. It goes a long way in building connections with your children. Trust me, it does. Love them the way they want to be loved. Don't love them the way you think you should love them. And one mistake a lot of us make, we make it with our spouses, sometimes we make it with our children as well, is loving them the way we want to be loved. Your love language and your child's love language might not be the same thing. Your love language might be acts of service, and true acts of service, but your child is craving for time spent with you. So don't make that mistake of communicating your love language to your child. Study your child, understand what his or her own love language is, and communicate with your child on that level. Now, one way for you to know your child's love language is by also looking at how your child tries to communicate love to others. What are those things that your child loves doing for others? That will tell you what your child will want to receive. A child that wants to, it's always holding people with, kisses and all that, might be craving physical touch. A child that is always affirming another likely desires affirmation. A child that is always quick to offer help likely desires help. That's acts of service. So one way to find out your child's major love language, because I said you should express love to them in these different languages, but for every child there's one that will be more prominent, and you try to leverage on that to communicate love with your child. So like I was saying, use the way they communicate with others to understand how they want love to be communicated to them. So that brings us more or less to the end of this short session today. I'm going to be sharing the resources I said that would help you to understand your children better. One of them is a test that will help you through answering some questions with your children to help you understand more what their love languages are. And if you find out your child's love language, major love language, try not to be tempted to deprive them of that love language. Let's say you want to discipline a child, and then all you want to withhold from the child is that thing that the child understands as love. That would not amount to discipline to them. It would communicate the wrong message of not being loved. And when we are disciplining a child, we are teaching the child, we are correcting the child, it's supposed to be done in love. So when we are communicating with our children, it's not just about the things we say or the things we do, but what they perceive and what they understand from our actions. So you wouldn't say because your child misbehaved, then you're going to withdraw something that the child perceives as love, because the message you're passing to the child is that you're withholding love from her because she didn't do something. So you don't love her because of her actions. Whereas our love for our children should be unconditional, regardless of what it is that they've done wrong. We should not, of course, condone the wrong. We are not saying you should like the wrong that they have done. All I'm saying is you love them regardless. So even in disciplining your child, be careful not to unknowingly withhold love from the child by withholding those actions that portrays the love language that your child understands. I don't know if I'm making sense to any parents out there this evening. This might look very simple, but this goes a long way in our parenting relationship with our children. And like I always say, let's always look up to God, who is the author of love. God is love himself. That you show love to your children doesn't mean that you would not correct them. Of course it doesn't. But when they know that you're correcting them in love, they cooperate more with you. So dear parents, that brings us to the end of our session this evening. I don't know if anybody has any contribution to make. Please just drop it in the comment section. Any observation? Well, was there any light bulb moment for you? Was there anything that was striking for you? Anything that popped out to you while I comment section? And I just want you to commit today that you're going to pay the price, not just to find out your child's love languages, but to start now to communicate with your child using the language they understand. I'm sure that as I was speaking, for some people you got more clarity on why your children behave the way they behave and all that. I know for the truth that in my own family with my children, working with this understanding has helped our relationship a great deal. When you understand your children, it limits the battles that you fight. And then another thing I will say, for that child that likes that appreciates words of affirmation, when you also shout at them, it makes them feel small. The tone of your voice affects them as well. Please, let's be very conscious about the things that we do, so we don't unknowingly communicate that we don't love our children. Like I have said, one thing is key. We all know that the average normal parent loves a child, but the question is, does your child really know how much you love him? Does your child really know how much you love her? Before you go to bed this night, make sure you tell your child not just that you love him or her, but tell them how much you love them. Just go beyond the normal I love you, but tell them, you know how much I love you. You mean the world to me. I like the way you do this and you do that and all that. And then also keep on working on finding out more about their love languages and how you help communicate to them using those languages. Thank you so much, dear parents. Please enjoy the rest of your weekend, and by God's grace, we'll be back next week, Saturday, talking about another aspect of understanding our children. We hope to go through the whole spectrum, so in the course of this holiday, you work on understanding them better so that you can build a stronger relationship with them. So till next time, I think I'm going to sign out for now. Please don't forget to fill the contact information so you'll get the resources I had talked about, and also invite other people to join this community. Do take care. God bless you, and thank you for listening to me and staying with me till the very end. Till next time, bye.